The Champions League match day 2. I think it's still called match day, league phase, whatever. Second day of the Champions League, and Bayern Munich beat Pafos 5-1, crushed them, and Chelsea beat Benfica 1-0. So we're going to break down both of those matches here. Jim and I are recording separately due to schedules. These weekday matches are a little bit trickier to cover, but that's no excuse. We're here covering everything for you. So please like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff. Join the conversation. Every subscription really does matter, building a footballing community here at Always Bayern Chelsea. And I'm going to start off by talking about the Bayern Munich match here against Pafos, because Bayern Munich is just on a tremendous stretch right now. They're just crushing everybody in their paths, and today was no different. I predicted a 4-0 victory. The final score was 5-1, so it was one of those matches where, Bayern, I don't want to disrespect Pafos, but Bayern is a level above them in terms of talent. And even though Bayern did travel over to Cyprus, they were able to get the job done in convincing fashion. So not a whole lot to be upset about in this one if you're a Bayern fan, in my opinion. But I'm going to start off here by running down the starting lineup. Kompany used a relatively standard lineup, but there were a few notable starters or normal starters getting rest. So a good move overall, in my opinion, because these teams just play so many matches at this point. Bayern has a big match in the Bundesliga this weekend against Frankfurt. Let's again run down this lineup here. Neuer was the keeper. Pretty good match from Neuer. The one goal that Pafos did score was not his fault. It was we'll talk about it, but it was a turnover. Bad mistake by Kim, and then just a worldly of a shot. So nothing Neuer could have done there. If Erbig wasn't hurt, I was hoping he would have started in this one, but obviously Erbig being hurt, Neuer's gonna get the nod. So pretty good from Neuer. You saw Connie Leimer at right back, Upa and Kim were the center backs, and then Raphael Guerreiro was the left back. So if there was one weakness to point out in this match from an otherwise stellar performance, it would be those center backs. Kim especially, but Kim and Upa, not the best match from those two in my opinion. I thought Leimer, it wasn't Leimer's best match either, but I thought he was pretty solid. And to be fair, the back line didn't get tested very much and only gave up one goal. So I'm really nitpicking here when I'm talking about deficiencies or whatever. And overall, I think it was a great performance by the team as a whole. And then Guerreiro at the left back, I thought he was really good. Guerreiro, I've come on here many times and have said that Guerreiro should not be playing left back anymore, and yet I thought this was a perfect choice, a perfect game for him to play left back. So let me explain that a little bit. This was, again, a match where Bayern was going to be just dominating, so they're controlling possession. Pafos isn't a team that's going to blow by you with speed or anything, so it was a match where I thought Guerreiro could be utilized, and he was, and it turned out great because Guerreiro was able to get up into the attack and affect the attack and push the ball forward without needing to rely on speed to get back, or really without needing to cover much at all defensively. So shout out to Kompany there. Great choice using Guerreiro, especially with the injuries. Obviously Davies, obviously Ito, but then also Stanisic, so that's 3 left backs right there that are out. And Stanisic, maybe not even a left back, but 3 options at left back out. So the midfield here today was Joshua Kimmich and Alexander Pavlovic. I thought it was a really nice game from Pavlovic. Kimmich, on the other hand, I thought it was one of his weaker performances. And again, I'm totally nitpicking here. I thought he was fine overall, and a weaker performance from Kimmich isn't necessarily a horrible performance. It's just that he's usually so good and so solid. I just noticed a number of sloppy passes that went right to the other team, and I also noticed a free header that he missed. We'll talk about it maybe, but Pavlovic actually ripped in a shot at one point in this match. Keeper made a great save, so keeper was out of the question, and the deflection went right to Kimmich, who was standing in front of an open net, and I think just tried to put it in the corner instead of just putting it anywhere, because it would have scored if he would have headed it at all in the direction of the goal and missed. So again, un-Kimmich-like, I'm sure, or I guess I shouldn't say I'm sure, but he's probably not 100% healthy yet because he has been sick. So I don't know if that is part of it or what, but I give the guy credit every week for how consistent he is and how his mentality of just being a beast and wanting to play every match. So Kimmich was in there. Not his best match, but by no means a horrible match. Luis Diaz, Harry Kane, and Michael Olise. And then up top was Nico Jackson. So Kane actually played the 10 in this game where Nico played the 9. Interesting there. Gnabry getting a rest. Vincent Kompany giving Serge Gnabry a rest in this one, which was good to see. Luis Diaz, I thought was solid but not amazing. Missed a couple shots he probably should have made, but or could have made, I should say. Should have made is a little too harsh for these chances, but overall just really great work rate and really active on the day. And again, just so important to that attack Luis Diaz. And the one thing I want to say about Luis Diaz, because so far this year I think he's been very good for Bayern, and I think a big reason why he's been so good as opposed to a Zane or even a Coman or sometimes a Gnabry at left wing, it's just his attitude, it's just his mentality, it's just his focus. If he misses a shot or something that maybe he thinks he should have made, he doesn't let it affect him at all. He just keeps pounding, keeps going, puts his head down and works. And I'm not saying that Zane, Coman, Gnabry weren't hard workers or whatever, but it just seems like Diaz is so unfazed, and he's just a workhorse out there, and I just love to see that on that left wing. So Luis Diaz there. Harry Kane had 2 goals and just continues this unreal form. Like, I want to stress this so much. Harry Kane is the best player in the world, as I've said for a long time, the best all-around player in the world, and it's like not even close right now. Kane just goes out every match and scores multiple goals, and in this one too, he had a pass basically across the entire pitch. One of them, I should say this, he had multiple passes that were across the entire pitch to find Olise in stride. One of them was from so far back on their own half that I didn't even know it was even possible to kick a ball that far, let alone accurately, let alone to start an attack to Olise in stride. So like, I'm running out of ways to describe Harry Kane, except he's by far and away the best player in the world right now. Michael Olise, great game from him as well. 2 assists and a goal. And Nico Jackson, a goal and an assist. So super important for Jackson to get on the score sheet here finally for Bayern. Olise and Kane were just terrorizing the entire match. They were a joy to watch. They were just incredible teammates. They were incredible goal scorers. They were incredible assisters, finders, shooters, whatever word you want to use, I guess. Kane and Olise in this one, man, they were just dynamite. And then Jackson, I thought, had a lot of really good moments, a couple of pretty poor ones as well, but I want to focus on the good ones and kind of take those, and hopefully he can do the same and forget about some of the poor misses he had, because when he was good in this match, he was really good, and he was just interacting with the other attackers, and I think is starting to find his footing, I guess, here at Bayern Munich. So shout out to Nico for that one. Okay, so right off the rip, you could tell that Bayern was going to be dominant, as they have been. They were just, again, I don't want to sound disrespectful to Pafos, because there were moments in this match where I was kind of surprised and thought that they played really well, but Bayern is just the hottest team right now in the world, so Pafos caught them at a bad time, I guess, and Bayern was just ready to roll. They were just steamrolling from the beginning, peppering in shots. The first 10 minutes, Bayern could have had a couple goals there just right away. But the first goal did come in the 15th minute. Harry Kane gets that one. Michael Olise slides Kane a pass. The link up between Kane and Olise is just incredible. These two are just reading each other's minds. Both extremely high IQ footballers, and it's a joy to see them together. Very similar to one of the goals he scored against Inter in the Champions League last year, where he kind of takes the ball with his right foot and shoots a shot, kind of outswinging, but it just on the right side of the goal. And it just bends around the keeper in the most perfect way. And Kane, again, I don't want to spend this whole episode just glazing Kane, because I easily could, based off of how he's been in form this year, but he just can score in so many different ways, and he's just so lethal and so deadly and accurate with his shots that he's impossible to defend for hundreds of different reasons. But the next goal came shortly after in the 20th minute. This was actually, in my opinion, Nico Jackson's best moment of the game. He finds Raphael Guerreiro with a perfectly weighted pass, and Guerreiro, making a run into the box, is able to knock that one in. Great goal from Guerreiro again. Guerreiro, when he doesn't need to worry about defending at all, is such a dangerous player, or can be such a dangerous player, I should say. And this was one of those instances where he's just right up there into the attack. Again, he didn't need to worry about defending in this match, and that is why he was so good, I thought. But again, like, beautiful assist from Nico. I was glad to see him just linking up and getting a feel for his place in this attack. So awesome moment there. And then Nico got a goal of his own in the 31st minute where Olise finds him. And Jackson, honestly, like, didn't have the best shot here, but didn't need to have the best shot at all. Just put it in a good enough spot. Found himself with a little bit more space maybe than he should have had, I guess, in the box, and was able to just slide home a nice goal in the bottom left corner of the net, I believe. But Olise's assist here, great assist by Olise, who just continues to be deadly. He kind of ran through the defense, and I almost want to stand up and make a fool of myself and try to show you what he did, but pretend this is the ball. This is one of his legs, but he's doing it with both legs, if that makes any sense at all. You know, he's going like around kind of like this. Just both of his legs are just slicing and dicing with the ball, and he either can hit it that way, pass it to someone making a run, he can shoot, you know, like that, or he can kind of outside boot it, and that's what he did on this one. Was he hit the outside of his boot and slid it over to Jackson, who again, like, just had a lot of space. I think the defense was really focused on Olise, and rightfully so. Olise is a beast, so Jackson found himself with the space and buried the shot, and that was huge. That was honestly huge, just because obviously for this match, but like for Jackson in general. Jackson is a guy who's been struggling so far at Bayern, and I think he's one of those guys similar to Zane, who when he doesn't have his confidence, it can get really bad. And I think that this could be a confidence building moment. I hope it certainly could be, because he had a nice game. And I think realistically, this was kind of one of those matches that I remember seeing a lot from Jackson at Chelsea, where he did some things really well and then did some things kind of poorly. So we'll see if that's just who Jackson is, or if he's able to grow and blossom into this key player for Bayern Munich. I shouldn't say key player, because I don't think he's going to be a starter, but key depth piece for Bayern, I should say. We'll see. And like, here's to hoping that's going to happen, because if Bayern could get the best out of Nico Jackson, this attack is already almost unstoppable, and if we could get ceiling Nico Jackson, it's just going to be lights out. It really is. So yeah, then a few minutes later, this moment of the match, like this period of the match, Bayern was just rolling, and they were just completely unstoppable. I get it's Pafos, but I don't think anybody is stopping Bayern Munich when they're humming, when they're clicking like this. And so 34th minute, Harry Kane kind of just does it all in this one. Barrels through five, I think I counted 5 or 6 Pafos defenders plus the keeper. Like, that should speak for itself, literally. Like, Kane is again, a guy who can score 10,000 different ways. And this time he literally just barreled through the entire team and put in a shot and scored through the keeper's legs. So, not to mention, he almost had a fucking bicycle kick earlier in this match, which I didn't even mention. This was like 5 minutes into the match. Kane almost has it goes off the post, off of a corner. Kane tries to do a bicycle kick, and it goes off the post. So that's how you know he's feeling himself. And, I mean, the guy is just unstoppable. He really is. He's just unstoppable. Unfortunately for Bayern, their clean sheet did not last very long, because right before half, Orsic, I think is how you pronounce his name, scored an incredible goal for Pafos. And, I don't want to take anything away from the actual strike and the goal itself because it was beautiful, but it was because Kim just turned the ball over to Pafos, which, it can't happen. It can't happen. In this game it can, and it did, but against a better opponent, deeper into the Champions League, it can't happen if you're Kim. And it sucks because I think Kim has been putting up solid performances after solid performances lately when his number's been called. But I just hope this doesn't kind of stop his momentum, because overall I just thought it was a really sloppy match from him. Again, it doesn't really affect things in this one, so I don't want to sound like I'm just bitching for the sake of bitching. But it's just something to note. Multiple kind of bad moves from Kim on this one. But yeah, then the second half starts, and I think, second half, Kompany goes to his bench at halftime, brings on Gnabry, takes out Diaz. I like that move a lot just because Diaz has been starting and almost playing every minute of every match, so I think it's good to rotate some of these guys. Again, you got Frankfurt over the weekend. Then it's the international break, which, let's be honest, all Bayern's players just rack up minutes in the international break anyways, playing for their national teams. And then it's Dortmund. So Bayern kind of has a little bit of a tougher stretch coming up. So yeah, good move bringing Gnabry in. And Gnabry, funnily enough, lately has been working better as a 10 than he has as a left wing, but not a bad match from Gnabry whatsoever in my mind. But the start of the second half, Pafos, this was probably the best they had played throughout the entire match, was this kind of period of 10 or so minutes, 10 to 15 minutes maybe, into the second half, where they were actually kind of controlling a little bit of the possession, put Bayern on their back heels for a bit. It didn't last long, and it really can't, but they put in a couple shots maybe that Neuer had to stop during this period, so it is what it is. Second half for Bayern was a little bit slower anyways. They were, I think, just trying to lock things down, and eventually more subs come in, and then, things just, they don't fall apart at all, but more subs come in and things are just maybe a little bit disorganized, or the game plan shifts a little bit, obviously at this point in a match, so it's nothing to be pissed about, in my opinion. If you're a Bayern fan, it's just kind of the way things go in a match like this. Sacha Boey comes on for Harry Kane in the 64th minute, and then at that point, Raphael Guerreiro slides into the cam position, the attacking midfielder position. Boey goes in at right back, and Leimer slides over to left back. So again, I want to give Leimer a ton of credit for just playing all these different positions: midfield, right back, left back. Doesn't matter. He's still going to give you the energy. He's still going to give you the aggression, the edge, everything that Leimer gives you. He's going to do it wherever he is. So really, really shout out to Konrad Leimer on that one. And then in the 68th minute, Michael Olise gets his goal to make it 5-1, and this goal was off of a Jackson shot that Jackson arguably should have done better with, or maybe I'll just put it like this: he could have done better with. And the keeper saves it, and Olise just storms in and just roofs it. I don't know. He made it look easy, but it's not an easy shot, is what I'm trying to say. This was a great goal for Michael Olise just because he did so much in this game, and he deserved a goal. And it was good to see him get one. He had a couple of misses, too, in this one that were a little bit uncharacteristic. I mentioned it, Bayern could have popped in 8-9 goals maybe. Kimmich, again, had an open header, literally a wide open header that he just missed. Diaz missed a couple that I said. Jackson, second half, missed a couple of one-on-ones. So again, I'm not going to harp on the guy. I want him to take the positives from this one, because there was a lot of good positives in this match, unlike previous appearances from Jackson. So it's just how it goes. You can't make them all, and Bayern still put up a good performance to be proud of in this one. 73rd minute, we saw Jonathan Tah come in for Diet Upamecano, and Lennart Karl come in for Michael Olise. Olise looked pissed as hell to be subbed off, which I love that attitude, but the guy's racking up a lot of miles, so I was super big in favor of this move. I wanted Kimmich to come off too, and Bischoff to come on, honestly. But that's just me. I want to see more rotation in a game like this, because there's not going to be, I shouldn't say there's not going to be a lot of chances, but I guess there's not going to be a lot of chances, and there's going to be stretches going forward where you can't afford to rotate like this. You just can't, because the opponents are going to be so good. And so why not do it when you can in a match like this? And, overall, I'm happy with Kompany. He is embracing rotation more. He's making more subs, smarter subs. He's picking and choosing which guys start which match when. So all credit to him. But again, this is just me really going through things with a fine-tooth comb here. Upa, glad to see him get some rest. Ta again. Carl, I thought had a pretty solid showing. Maybe not his best, but he just brings a level of activity. He brings energy, and I love to see that from Carl. 83rd minute, we did see Bischoff come in. He came in for Konrad Leimer, kind of tried him out there in that left back role, but it's hard to actually call it a true left back because Kimmich kind of drops back at times and takes that back three with the center backs, and then Bischoff is able to go higher up in the pitch and invert into the midfield anyways, so just on paper, I guess. But yeah, not a lot of time for Bischoff to leave his mark, but I did like what I saw from him again. I loved what I saw from him against Werder Bremen, and I liked it enough today to want to continue to see him going forward. So let's hope we get that. And I will go ahead and give some match awards for this one. Harry Kane's the man of the match. Harry Kane is the man of the season, the man of the world, whatever you want to call it. Scoring a brace, just doing everything in this one. Michael Olise is the Robin. Michael Olise, 2 assists and a goal. Again, terrorizing this team, almost toying with them, like a lion toying with his food is kind of what Olise was reminiscent of in this one. The defender of the match, I'm going to go ahead and give that one to Raphael Guerreiro. Again, great shift from Guerreiro. And then the underrated player of the match, I think I'm going to give it to Alexander Pavlovich, just because, wasn't on the score sheet, but a solid match, a really, really solid match from Pavlovich. But yeah, now Bayern Munich moves on to the Bundesliga, a big match in the Bundesliga against Dino Toppmoller's Frankfurt, one of the hottest teams in the league at the moment. They're 4th in the standings. And to be fair, Frankfurt as a whole this year has been kind of hot and cold. They've been overall good in the Bundesliga, but they've just been a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, last week I watched their match against Gladbach where it was 6-4. They went up 6-0 and then gave up 4 goals in a row. So just interesting stuff there. They crushed Galatasaray 5-1 in the Champions League, and then lost to Leverkusen, whatever it was, 3-1 or 4-1 or something. Lost to Atletico Madrid 5-1 today, but have been crushing other teams, Hoffenheim, Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. So Frankfurt is just one of those teams that when their attack is clicking, they're really dangerous. They always manage to find good under-the-radar attackers and then sell them for a huge profit, especially strikers. Hugo Ekiteke, Omar Marmoush are the most recent examples of that, but it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be one of those Bundesliga matches that's more of a test for Bayern. Again, they got Dortmund after this, so it's going to be a couple of matches where I think we really start to see just how good this team is, because the way they're playing right now, they're, again, the hottest team in the world right now. We'll see if it lasts, but you just got to be happy. You just got to be happy with how they're playing. So I just want to run through Frankfurt's last couple matches here just to give you an idea of what their form is like at the moment. Lost today to Atletico Madrid, again, 5-1 in the Champions League. Crushed. That Gladbach match in the Bundesliga last weekend that I watched, 4-6. Sorry, I guess 6-4. They won. They lost to Union Berlin 3-4. At home, which is brutal, right after crushing Gala, as I said, in the Champions League 5-1. So this Frankfurt team, it's Jekyll and Hyde. It really is. And again, losing to Leverkusen, then beating Hoffenheim, beating Bremen, and yeah, they won their opening Pokal match 5-0. So yeah, this Frankfurt team, a couple guys that you might mention or that you might know. You got Jonathan Burkhardt from Mainz last year. He's been a welcome addition. Shout out to Burkhardt. He's a good player. Can Uzan has been incredible so far. He's one of those guys who Frankfurt just, again, under the radar guys. He's listed as a midfielder, but he kind of plays as an attacker. Same as Ritsu Dohan. He could be the transfer of the year maybe, or one of the transfers of the year within the Bundesliga, in my opinion. Ritsu Dohan, a winger, was on Freiburg and just is a really good player, and I think Frankfurt did a great job getting him. But they have a lot of guys that you would recognize here. Mario Götze, of course, with the World Cup winning goal for Germany, just a true legend of the game. Played for Dortmund, played for Bayern. Hugo Larsson as well in the midfield there, another one that you might know. Timothy Chandler, by the way, a USA guy. Just gotta shout that out as a fellow American. But then they have a number of veteran defenders too, and that's why this team is good, is because they get these young guys, these exciting attackers, and they kind of pair them with veterans, with Bundesliga mainstays. So Arthur Tiate, he is their left back, and he's just a great defender. Robin Koch, of course, Rasmus Christensen, Nnamdi Collins. They just have a number of guys who are recognizable Bundesliga names. And I think right now, their goalkeeper position might be the biggest question mark. Kevin Trapp left the team in the summer, so I think they're still trying to work through that. And hey, if Bayern is able to catch them on a bad day, I think Bayern could pop through a bunch of goals, but Frankfurt is also a team who could pop through a bunch of goals. So stay tuned for maybe an official lineup drop, at least on Twitter, lineup prediction and full preview, and we'll give you all that stuff. I'm thinking right now it's going to be a 3-2 Bayern win. It is away, and Frankfurt's a tough team to play away. Bayern's had some trouble with that before, but that's just my super early prediction right now, thinking about it. Stay tuned on Twitter, stay tuned on YouTube. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to comment, all that good stuff. And we're going to send it over to Jim now, because Jim's going to talk through Chelsea beating Benfica, Jose Mourinho, the special ones, Benfica, 1-0. So good 3 points for Chelsea in the Champions League, but their form continues to be worrisome. And we'll turn it over to Jim now. He'll talk a little bit about Bayern too, I believe. So, Jim, take it away, and Mia San Mia.
What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday. I have finally digested some thoughts on the Bayern and Chelsea matches. Watched the Chelsea match live on my phone during work, which was not ideal, stressful environment, and it's something I hate doing, but I did it anyway because I'm a sicko for Chelsea Football Club, and that's just the facts. And just got done watching the first half of the Bayern match against Pafos. That's all I'm going to watch. I'll catch the highlights of the second half later, but I wanted to get some thoughts out there because I saw Nicolas Jackson had a goal and an assist, so I wanted to see how my boy looked in this match in the Champions League. It was awesome to see him start for this Bayern team. So I'm going to start there with my Bayern Munich thoughts because it's fresh on my mind. I just got done watching it, and they had the better win on the day as opposed to Chelsea. So let's start with Bayern. I loved the lineup that I saw that was put out because Jackson's starting up top with Harry Kane alongside Luis Diaz and Michael Olise. These guys are still humming in the attack. Gnabry can play. Anybody can play. These Bayern attackers are so electric right now. And I was so happy to see Nico Jackson finally get in on the action with his first 2 contributions to this Bayern Munich squad. And then, in the midfield, when you had Pavlovic and Kimmich, I think they do such a great job against these weaker opponents in providing a lot of the great passes and controlling, quite frankly, dominating the midfield against these teams. At times I was seeing Kimmich really push the ball up, Pavlovic as well, the way he turns after receiving the ball to push it up to Nico, Harry, whoever was there. And then you always have Diaz as an outlet on the left side, Olise as an outlet on the right side. And those two guys are just so good at being the great outlets on that side to get the ball. Whether it's a pressure situation in the midfield, you need to get the ball out, those guys are there. Or if it's just a deep ball maybe from an Upamecano or a Kim, the guys are, again, there to make those plays. So that's awesome to see. And I was glad to see Guerreiro get some time as well because, that left back spot has been interesting. We know Bayern is down quite a few players. They'd, of course, love to have Davies back. But I think it's important that Guerreiro is able to find his footing in this Bayern team, and he's going to be an important piece going forward. Happy to see him bag a goal today. So, my thoughts on this first half. Again, Bayern, when they are cooking, are one of the best teams in the world. Right now, they're playing as a top 3 team in the world. And I think you could easily make the argument that they're a favorite for the Champions League. Not only are they a favorite with this current team right now, but if you expect them to potentially get an Alphonso Davies back, a Jamal Musiala back, healthier Stanisic, Ito, healthy overall, some of these guys on the fringe that are dealing with slight injuries, it will make them an even bigger favorite potentially. And that's the exciting thing if you're a Bayern Munich fan, because this attack right now is showing me that anybody can score, anybody can assist, and when they're connecting together, you throw in Nico Jackson there as well, things could get ugly for all the opponents of Bayern, whether that's in the Bundesliga, the DFB Pokal, or even in the Champions League. And listen, I know that Pafos isn't going to be this amazing team out of Cyprus, and that's okay, because Bayern need to show that they can win all these games in dominating fashion, and that's what they're doing. So, this first half, I think they started out super strong. Pafos in the first 30 minutes maybe had one chance, really, when they were just driving the ball down, maybe a second one early. I think they technically had the first, shot within 5 minutes, but nothing that was threatening Manuel Neuer by any stretch of the imagination. And I loved what Kane was doing early. Him playing with Jackson, in my opinion, actually is awesome for Kane, because he can go up top if he wants and get the ball, whether it's on a cross or passes from Kimmich, any of those. But when he can drop deeper, which he loves to do, he loves to facilitate. If he has a striker that he can then facilitate to, open things up for him, I think it actually makes him even better. And this is something he can start transitioning to do as he gets older in age, loses some speed. We know Kane is not the fastest guy on this pitch, and a lot of times strikers need to run those channels, need to run those lanes to get the balls. Let Jackson do that if you're Harry. And if you're Kane, you can sit more in the middle, control play, facilitate, as I said, get the ball out to Diaz on the left wing, get the ball out to Olise on the right wing, connect with these guys, whether it's Jackson or Olise, even a Guerreiro, as we saw in this first half. So I think the unlimited possibilities for Kane are really what excite me about this potential with Nico Jackson. And we hadn't seen Nico really play that well a ton thus far for Bayern Munich, but I think today he showed flashes of what he can be. Again, he's going to be pretty inconsistent at times, but the potential is there for sure. Now back to Kane, just to end my thought here. That first goal, people will probably not talk about how tough that goal is to really get in. And the little run, barely staying onside when Olise has the ball on that right wing, gives him a perfect ball in terms of the weight. And Kane can't put a ton of power on it, but you don't want a ton of power from that tight angle. And the way he just is able to sneak it past the keeper and into the bottom left-hand corner there, that is a sneaky, cheeky finish by Mr. Kane that, again, he probably won't get the love for because people don't like to talk about Kane. We know that. But this guy's the best striker in the world. It's not close. And that finish is one of the ways he shows that he can be the best striker in the world. And then bags a brace in the first half. This guy is getting braces every single time he steps on the pitch, or hat tricks. It's unbelievable. And, this second goal is a little bit different. He kind of slithers through the defense. I think he's trying to pass it to Nico. I couldn't really tell if the defender had hit it, deflected it, whatever the case may be. But then he's able to finish because he can finish from anywhere on the pitch, any angles, and that's what I love about Kane. As much as I don't want to admit that he's a great player, former Spurs player, but he is just undeniably so talented, so credit to him for that. Now moving over to the man who set him up for his first goal, Michael Olise. Boy, oh boy. I mean, the first assist, as I said, to Kane, such a nice pass. To weight that pass in there, Olise is showing me that he can do everything on the pitch. I didn't see his goal ultimately in the second half. I'll have to watch that back. But his second assist to Nico Jackson, I mean, that is a tremendous assist as well. He's finding the pockets when he's on that right-hand side. He's finding the zones to get balls to his Bayern teammates. It reminded me of a goal that Jackson actually had for Chelsea a couple years ago, one of his first goals on the team, when Palmer slots the ball into him in the middle space there. It was actually a goal against Vincent Kompany's Burnley, I believe, funnily enough. And then he's able to get the ball and finish it. Now, Jackson's goal, similar type finish to Kane, way easier angle, but in terms of the pace and power that he put on the ball, good job by Nico there to find the back of the net. And again, I'm so happy for him that he's able to get his first Bayern Munich goal. I said that I would have loved to keep him at Chelsea. You know, we're seeing with the injuries that they have, he would have been a big piece for them this season. But ultimately, I'm still going to be a fan of Nico Jackson. And the fact that he scored a goal and assisted today, I loved seeing, certainly. So credit to him. And getting to that assist, what a great bit of play between him and Raphael Guerreiro. And I don't know if it was Kimmich that first passed the ball into that space, but it's a 1-2 situation, give and go. Jackson then flicks it back to Guerreiro, who buries it in the back of the net. And this is the type of play that you see from Bayern quite often, usually on the right-hand side with an Olise, maybe a Limer, but this time we see it with Jackson and Guerreiro. And this tells me that Bayern can have even more possibilities in their attack. Guys like Jackson, if he's humming along with his teammates, Guerreiro now we see on the left side can go up. We've seen Guerreiro score many nice goals from that left-hand side. Lately, we've been seeing Limer on the right-hand side be able to push up, score goals, assist, do those sorts of things. But if they also have a threat on that other side with Guerreiro, that's going to be huge for Bayern up until Alphonso Davies comes back. And even when he does come back, because then you're going to be able to rest him more and have confidence and faith that Guerreiro can do those things. So I think that was huge for Bayern to be able to do that. Now, again, I didn't watch the second half, but I'm guessing that Bayern was able to cruise at that point. You know, they end up winning 5-1, do give up a goal, but I'm not too concerned about that. I heard it was a pretty nice goal, so I don't think it matters a ton, really, for Bayern. But look, they're number one in the UCL standings right now. There's a couple other teams, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, before games tomorrow that have 6 points, but Bayern are tied with Real Madrid with 6-goal differential, and that's huge. Start off with 2 wins in the UCL for Bayern, and they can keep chugging along from here, which will be awesome for them. Hopefully they can keep riding this momentum into the Bundesliga and in the Champions League as well, because they, right now, are a special team. Over to my Blues in London. The boys in blue facing their old manager, Jose Mourinho. Not that any of these players had him, but he's the special one. He's somebody that all the fans at Chelsea love at the bridge. They were singing his name. They were cheering him on. I was not a fan when he was there, but the things you hear about him almost make me emotional just because I know the connection that you can have with a coach, a manager in sports, and at times it can be so special. So that's awesome that he was able to come back and feel the love from the Chelsea fans. And coming into this match, I was feeling down about Chelsea, feeling pretty negative. You know, my last couple videos I've talked about how we may need to reassess the way that we view Chelsea Football Club right now. Because based on current form, in the league, they're playing like a mid-table team at best. You know, against some of these Champions League teams with the injuries, the inexperience, they're just not going to have the juice that we're hoping they have. So it's tough to assess this performance. Because if you look at them as a mid-table Premier League team, you might view this 1-0 victory over Benfica and say, okay, that's on par with what we expect. Maybe it's even a good win to get 3 points. If you look at Chelsea as the team coming off of last season and in the summer as Club World Cup champions, you're going to say this was a terrible performance. And that's just a fact because you only win 1-0 at home coming back in the Champions League at the Bridge against a team in Benfica that is undergoing a managerial change, has not been playing superbly well at the time, and you just expect more if you're a Chelsea team that calls themselves the world champions. So that's why I have a tough time assessing this match and this Chelsea team in general as of late. I just don't know how to view them. They have so many key injuries. Their depth is gone. They have guys that are getting red cards all the time. We saw another today late in the match. So I don't know whether to look at them as a top team or not, because I would have viewed them as a top 10 favorite for the Champions League going into this league phase. But at this moment in time, I'm just hoping they get top 16. At worst, top 24 to make it to this kind of playoff of the knockouts. So that's where I'm at in terms of assessment. Now, we then look at Maresca dropping this lineup an hour and 15 minutes before the match. And I see it, and I first think, oh boy, this is going to be a brutal match. And I had already predicted them to lose 2-1 because I just felt as though the momentum coming in was non-existent. Pressure was high, inexperience. Something else was going to happen, maybe another red card, which to be fair did, but this lineup did not inspire me at all from Enzo Maresca. I think Tyreek George is a fine player. He had a brilliant goal against Lincoln City, saved us last season against Fulham, but he's not a center forward. He's not a number 9. He just can't play that role. He's so tiny compared to these center backs. Is not going to be physically strong to win the ball with his body. He can't post up. He's just not that type of player. I think he's much better suited out on the wing, and that's why Chelsea wanted to sell him. So when I first saw him as our striker today, I just knew it was going to be a long day. Garnacho and Neto, fine. I was fine with that overall. Would have loved to see Esteval, and I think Esteval was one of the best performers on the day, so I don't know why he didn't start. Maybe Maresca didn't think he could go 90 minutes, but he's one of our best performers right now, so I'm going to need to see him starting against Liverpool, and I'm going to need to see him start every match, especially when Palmer is out. That is what needs to happen right now. That's the reality. An 18-year-old Brazilian on our team might be our best player, especially in attack. The things that he's done, nobody else has been doing the last couple weeks. And then you had Caicedo and Fernandes in midfield. Caicedo clearly not 100%. We saw that today. One of the best performers on the day, but you can also tell he's taking breaks. He's walking at times. He's not 100% fit. It's going to be so tough because our midfield has no depth right now, but nobody can really replace Caicedo. So what do you do if you're Enzo Maresca? I'm not exactly sure. And then we see Enzo Fernandez again, who's been struggling. Seemed like he was slightly better at times today, but the guy has been off for a while now, so I just don't know what you can expect. Now, here's the thing. We hear that Andre Santos was out. Now we know he'll be out until after the international break, so you don't really have many options in midfield. We saw Walsh make the bench because of that. Lavia, who I believe doesn't even end up getting in, which to me is insane, but he's really your only other midfield option. I guess Reece James we could consider an option, but he doesn't start today either. So it's tough right now for Maresca in midfield, I think. And, then Buonanotte starts, fine. But then we see Gusta, Chalobah, Badiashile, Cucurella. It's so tough for me to see Gusto get all these opportunities time and time again. And as good as he looked at the Club World Cup final against PSG, the guy is not a good player for this Chelsea team. He's not. Even if he's bombing up and down the field and running and playing great that way, he's got no threat with the attack. So is there even a purpose to that? Not really. He's not a good traditional right back. He's not the greatest defender against some of these guys, even against a lesser Portuguese side in Benfica. So in my opinion, if you're Enzo Maresca, why do you keep throwing him out there? Because what we're seeing from him is not up to the standard that Chelsea Football Club are at. When we have a guy like Reece James, are you saving him for the weekend against Liverpool? Maybe that's the case. And if so, then I slightly understand it. But to me, this was a must-win at home in the Champions League against Benfica. So then that's a little bit tougher. Chalobah, Badiashile, I get that because a lot of guys are hurt and that made sense. Could you have thrown in Achimpong? Maybe. But it was great to see Badishio back. I do want to shout him out. I think he had a strong performance on the day, so I hope he's fit because he's probably my starting left side center back in this team right now with Levi Colwill out. I want a guy there that is a traditionally strong left-footed player at that left-sided center back spot, and he is that guy right now for Chelsea. And Chalobah, I see his ratings decently high on SofaScore, but I did not think he was that great today. I saw multiple times where he's putting pressure on his own teammates by making dumb decisions, poor passes, heading the ball toward the middle of the field when a Benfica player can come and steal it. I just don't feel super comfortable with him leading that back line, and I think other teams will start to expose him as well and see that as a weakness. And as I talk about that, we heard after the game that Mourinho pointed out some of these weaknesses on the back line that Benfica was trying to expose. He even said, Malo Gusto was struggling. We saw it. But then Chelsea can bring on Reece James, and that's the struggle of playing against Chelsea. That's a hilarious comment because everybody sees that Gusto is struggling, I think, except Enzo Maresca. So that's so frustrating because, I don't know. I trust Maresca at this point, and I have faith in him for what he's done so far, but there's just certain things that he does, certain players he doesn't trust, certain players he trusts too much. And again, with a young team, sometimes you just got to be aggressive and buy into the young aspect and hope you can trust these guys. You got to feed them to the wolves at some point and see if they can just show you what they have. And maybe we saw that with Garnacho a little bit in the first half. I didn't think he was amazing at all times, but let's be honest, he's a big part of the reason Chelsea had a goal today. And Neto has a nice cross in. Garnacho's there at the back post. Passes it toward the middle, and Benfica score an own goal. And I take any goals at this point if I'm Chelsea Football Club because the start to this season we've had, the amount of bad goals we've had is brutal. It's absolutely brutal. But am I going to complain about going up 1-0? No, because hopefully that gives Garnacho some confidence. Hopefully that gives the attack some confidence. And I did think that first half was decent for Chelsea. I thought they were making some opportunities. They looked like they were possessing the ball well, as they usually do, but they had some moments. They're just not consistent at all for 90 minutes. And that's what I struggle so much with. They don't know how to string together a complete performance. It's always 45 minutes good, 45 minutes bad. 60 minutes good, 30 minutes bad. 60 minutes bad, 30 minutes good. I just find that very tough as a Chelsea fan to follow and support, and it's something they really, really need to clean up. So again, this game that I didn't get the greatest look at during the workday, but I could just tell it was not the most exciting game. Pretty boring at times. I do think Sanchez was okay. He's still leaving his near post open quite a bit at times, and this could be troubling going forward. I think Benfica was spotting this, whether it was in their film study or if they just noticed it during the match. But, Sanchez had to deflect a shot off the post, and the fact that there was even that much space there for that to happen was a little worrisome. So glad that didn't end up being a big moment. But it certainly could have been if that shot could have snuck through. Chelsea barely beating Benfica in XG. Actually, one less shot, 9-8. Each team had one big chance. I just don't think Chelsea were all that good. Half the XG ends up coming in a second half chance where Enzo Fernandez picks out Estevao, who had come in around the 55th minute, and heads one at the keeper. Estevao is a threat. I talked about it before, how I think he's maybe our biggest threat right now on the attack, and that's the truth. The dribble that he had from their box to the midfield, passing 3 defenders, that was the most excited I got all match. Seeing him dribble around guys week in and week out has truly been awesome to watch. I think his final finished product still needs some work, and he's going to hone in on his finishing. But if he gets there, watch out, world, because this kid is special. This kid is showing that he has what it takes, and I can't wait to see him do it more and more for Chelsea Football Club, because he's going to score some big goals for us this season. I wanted to be patient with him, but I think he's ready for that next step. I think he's going to have a breakout soon. Maybe he scores a brace in a match. Maybe he gets a goal and assist in a match. I think he's going to have some sort of breakout where everybody says, holy shit, we got a special player on our hands here. And I just cannot wait for that day to come, because I think it's going to be so insane and so special. I will note the other subs that came on. You had Gittins for Garnacho, Pedro for Tyreek George, James for Gusto, Josh Echempong for Badiashile late. Gittins, I'm just not loving right now. He had one burst of speed. That was a decent moment, but then he can't find that last finished play, whether it's a pass or a shot. I need him to be quicker with his decision-making. I've said it time and time again. Show me the speed, but then also show me the quick decision. It's the Premier League. It's the Champions League. You just need to do things faster. That's just the reality. That's the way you have to do things. I would have the same criticism for Garnacho. Luckily for Garnacho, he has just provided a couple things now, whether that's chances into the box or anything like that. So that's why Gittins, unfortunately, is lower than Garnacho right now, because he just hasn't quite contributed in that way yet. You know, James Echempong, not much to say. They're steady presences. James, when he comes on, he makes me feel safe, nice and warm inside. Echempong, I just want to see get minutes. If he started this weekend against Liverpool, him and Badiashile, that would be incredible. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. Badiashile, especially coming off an injury, I don't know if he would start 2 matches in a row, but we could see Josh start. You know, with all these injuries, Chalobah is out, so we might see that be the case this weekend, which would be very interesting. But let's talk about João Pedro. The guy comes on. You know, he's clearly not fit. I don't know why he's playing. I'll get to Marquinhos in a second, but he gets a quick yellow, whatever. But he gets this late second yellow. Why are you lifting up your foot that high? Even though, in my opinion, it didn't look like he really touched the Benfica player, you just can't be doing that in a meaningless moment in this match, especially toward the end. And now you're going to be out against Ajax, where it's going to be another must-win for Chelsea at the Bridge on a Champions League night. I mean, I just don't get it. Like, where's the discipline in this squad? And part of that's on Enzo Maresca. Part of that's being a young team. But Pedro is an experienced guy. So where is all this coming from? Is this just a run of complete bad luck and coincidences where all these red cards happen? I really don't get it. I don't know what's happening. Something's in the water. I don't know. But it's crazy right now, and I just hope that it doesn't continue. Please, Chelsea, stop getting red cards. It's insane. And now I do want to just end this by talking about Marquinhos, because this is a young guy that I respect, that I like. I love his passion. I love his hard work. I love the way he presses. I love the way he moves the ball. I love the threat that he is in the box. Why is he not getting any minutes? Does Enzo Maresca hate this guy? Does he not rate him at all? He seems like anytime he talks about him, he doesn't mind the player that Guiu is. So why isn't he getting into these games? We're playing Tyreek George at striker, who has no business playing striker. From what I've seen from Guiu, I would way rather have him play than Tyreek George. So is this Maresca getting back at the sporting directors for bringing Guiu back, for loaning Jackson out, for not getting another striker? I don't know what the disconnect is here. Did Maresca have input with these sporting directors to bring him back? You know, he could be playing for third place in the league right now, Sunderland. And would he be getting minutes there? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know Sunderland's team. But he's not getting minutes at Chelsea. So then why did you bring him back? Just for cover? Because right now we need cover. We need Marquinhos to get minutes. And that's where the disconnect is. Again, I just don't understand it. But please, Maresca, can you play this kid? Give Pedro some rest. He desperately needs it. He's going to be out against Ajax. Do you play Guiu? Yeah, I would play Guiu. This is something I'm going to need to see, and we're going to have to watch going forward because he's going to be an important part of this team, in my opinion. Or play Shimoik. I don't know. But you got to play somebody else instead of Tyreek George. It's just the way it's got to be. So we'll see what happens with that. End of the day, I'm happy to get a win, 3 points. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be a grind. And this weekend against Liverpool, who, by the way, lost today in Turkey against Galatasaray. Whew. Man, this weekend will be interesting. I will be at a wedding. I'm going to do my best to catch the match live, and I'll have my thoughts, but we will see. We will see this match against Liverpool. It could be very, very, very interesting. That's all I'm going to say right now. I don't want to say too much because I am worried. I'm worried about what this will put us in the league. I'd love a point. I'd love 3. If we could steal 3 points against Liverpool, it'd be awesome. They have it coming at this point, let's be honest, with all the late winners they've had. So we'll see what happens. But ready for the weekend. Ready to see Bayern keep their momentum up. Hoping Chelsea can turn things around here. Maybe just getting 3 points, even as brutal as they were against Benfica, can allow Chelsea to be happy, play loose, play young, and play aggressive. Please do that, Chelsea. Please, 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 for your fans' sake, do that. Can't wait for the weekend. Can't wait for more Chelsea Football Club, as sick as it makes me at times. Go Brewers, go Packers. Mia San Mia. Up the frickin' Chelsea.